it's ready. Live.
Live, okay, hi. Yes.
So, welcome you all again here. We are honored with our great visit today, Momoyo Kaijima, who will give the lecture of this, the masterclass of this seminar. We are very glad with how things went today, with the audience, with the speakers, with the questions, and we are already working on a second edition probably next year. So be ready. Thanks for being here. And as I said, we have here with us today Momoyo Kaijima. Momoyo is a graduate from the Faculty of Domestic Science at Japan Women's University in 1991 and founded the very well-known Atelier Bow-Wow with Yoshiharu Tsukamoto in 1992. Momoyo taught as a visiting professor at the Department of Architecture at Harvard Graduate School of Design for 13 years and received the RIBA International Fellowship in 2012. More recently, she was the curator of Japan Pavilion at the 2018 Venice Biennale, which has been widely discussed today. And while engaging in design projects for houses, public buildings, and station plazas, she has conducted numerous investigations of the city through such projects as Made in Tokyo and Pet Architecture. So Momoyo, the audience is all yours. Thanks again for being here.
Thank you very much. Yes, so I share the screen. Can I see my screen? Yes, I hope.
Yes.
Okay, good. Yes, yes. Today as I prepare some lecture about the architectural ethnography is the same title of 2018, the Venice Biennale, and that time we were making one exhibition, the collection of the 42 different drawing about the building and also some city or some rural landscapes on, and we categorize 4 issue to kind of drawing and architecture. So how relate each other in the sense by pronouns. So and then it was a very, I think I was very happy. And after that, we are still doing this topic continuous. Last March, we published one magazine in ARQUITECTURA in German magazine. And it's also the same title of the architecture ethnography in German. And we hope so we continue some issues or how we could go further. And then also I'm very glad to you invited me to present my recent research things. And also today I bring some relational Atelier Bow-Wow work, so to also testing the architecture ethnography in a design process. So that is matrix contents. And firstly, I would like to explain in our ETA chair and also the Atelier Bow-Wow recently. So we discussed also the architectural behaviorology. It's a kind of research focusing on the architectural form or like a urban scape or a rural scape form, how it comes from, so as a relation. So like a nature and the human and the building as a typology, or the form are related to industry, so topics together. And also the architecture is I believe so always reflect from our life zone. And also the architecture ethnography is one of the important part of the method in the architecture behaviorology. And also the drawing is very, very important, sharing communication, so platform, so for this research. And first is I would like to introduce the recent things in the public drawings. And the drawings are always done by sometimes by hand or by computer, so different things. And but we had a very good opportunity. So around 2000, so the architects that started to use the computer as some tools. And the first period, so when I was a study, so as a student, I started to work by hand. So, but around the master course, so I start to use the computer very, very so early, so Macintosh computer, and then so simple, very line and not so much dense. It's more like very kind of abstract expression. We are very exciting about that. But same time, we found also the drawing could be more shareable platform by these computers, because computer drawing is didn't show kind of the personality or like a bit, like a very abstract line. So could be more shareable. So that's why we try to utilize this the computer line into our guidebook, so made in Tokyo. And also after, so we did several, so one singular house project and also the public building. So in the sense also we try to maximize our drawing from the detail to the environment, to how to interpret it in one big large section of plan. So. And after also we started to test several cases, not only focusing on the city, we started to think about also the focusing on the very rural area. But same time, the rural area is not only the building we need to observe. So landscape and the forest were also the kind of people's kind of artificial nature, so kind of. So that's why we try to illustrate how the village building and located in the farming land, and also how farming land were related to the stream, which were developed by the farmers family, and also how the tree were planted in the mountain. So in this drawing, so first we tested including several elements into the computer drawings. And but we have a very big disaster, so 2011 in Japan, so a great east earthquake were attacking the eastern coastline of Japan, and many fishermen villages were destroyed by tsunami. And many people died. So. And we were shocked by this disaster. So I, as an architect and also as in person, because how the people's artifact or like a building itself was so easy to destroy. And then also we could not easy to solve. So or against to this nature power. So, but same time also we had also a lot of understanding. So how the tsunami moved, and also how the building were collapsed. So as a nature of another disaster power. So that's why it was a very strong turning point for our expression mind. But same time also that we could not start to draw by computer because of this big trauma or like lost. So that's why we slowly started to propose some future images to the fisherman village by hand drawings. It's a kind of like a digesting through our body, but same time it's also the understanding through the hand movement to how we could reach in the some certain future as images. And then same time, so this drawing done by not only one person, so we called several students to work for together in 1 week. And then we understood maybe drawing is a more good kind of manner for discover how the commons or how the public in the future project. And we test through our project in the exhibition in AEDES Gallery in Germany to present our 3 public projects by public drawing by hand. And after, but this project becomes a continuous project because we are very enthusiastic to make a hand drawing together with the students, but sometimes also the topic-wise is we started to draw not only for our project and also our projection is more related to the history and also the some other public area. And also we test sometimes with a different scale. So left side is the original so drawing, but we enlarge 8 times so in 2 years later. And also we test some workshop in exhibition, other exhibition. For example, this case we did one solo show in Hiroshima Modern Art Museum. And Hiroshima, as you know, during the World War II, so it was had a very big disaster by atomic bomb, and the area center were totally damaged, empty. So, and then Kenzo Tange, the proposed one important memorial park and with the Peace Center building, and we focusing on the area how we could draw from the history to today as a public space by drawing by hand with the Hiroshima architecture student. And it's in reality in this park was very, very many people love this park. So because this is also very strong recovery from the World War II. And also the many people try to donate many tree after that complete. And many tree comes and so many memorial element or symbols or coming also by many organizations. So that's why, so I think this park itself was also growing by people. And also it's very well used to use as the public space. So that drawing, we try to memorize or we try to report all kind of things through the research by the students. And like also we went to the also another city like a Galata Bridge in Istanbul. So that case, the Galata Bridge was a very, very important bridge in Istanbul, the crossing the harbor. And then also it has a lot of interesting activity by fishing upstairs, and the lower part has a more, you know, like fish sandwiches on, so a lot of snack shops around. And it's very, very active in the night. So this drawing was done by the collaboration by students from Japan and so Istanbul, and very international collaboration. And we found also some interesting reach to discover by relationship or exchange by 2 countries' students. And after 2018, so we also did another hand drawing, so public drawing, so workshop in Venice. Venice, we focusing on the square in public square, around 12 square. And it's also very interesting because square is there is a lot of many famous squares in Venice, and then also it's utilized as sometimes commercial, or sometimes the market, or sometimes more ceremony for regional things. And the Venice Veduta, well, it's called Veduta in Italian, and these Veduta were also the represent of the city meaning. So for foreigner or for overseas the guests who wanted to be traded from the Venice merchant. So that's why, so like, but today it maybe Instagram or maybe Facebook could be also replaced for kind of this Veduta as a communication tools. But Veduta is also at the moment from the Renaissance to today, or 20th century. So, and also the grand tourism in Europe. So that case, the Veduta were very, very important tools for communication from one city to another. So the students try to discover how the difference from the historical Veduta and today. So structure, most of them are not changed, or sometimes it was totally changed, but also the activity change. So like both of the case, of course, there are many tourism, but the different kind of tourism, and also the different kind of goods. And for example, in a Veduta, so gondola is only by the hand or more like just without machine. So, but today's gondola or many motorboat coming by in a channel. So that's why, so like activity or replacement is also interesting topic. And but at the same time, we could find a similarity, so different condition. And we asking to our students always some methodology, public drawing in the process. For example, students have to understand what kind of resources and what kind of behavior in the area, and what kind of change from history and today. So observation is a very, very fast topic by drawing. The second topic is maybe, so they need to have a theme. So because one drawing different, too many different topics, it's a bit difficult. So that's why, so like we always try to make a focus which kind of topic will be more representative of the public space. So for example, one case is channel and square in front of the church and the hospital and all things. How did it, it's a one topics. And in this case, the channel could be a kind of the birth and death into the life in Venice. And the boat has also interesting different kind of boat, so market boat, but same time it's also some funerals or boat exist on the channel. So we found, so that's why, so like well, it's a very interesting, important channels distribution way of water in the Venice. So that's behavior, or that's public condition will be also drawn in these drawings. And also the frame and angle and scale and the method of the perspective. So these kind of things is also very important for determine for starting to drawing, because some drawing as names, so for example, military or cavalier, so all coming from the certain purpose for making drawing. So that's why, so we also try to discover which method and how we can combine different methods or scales into one drawing. And after, so in Venice case, we focus on the square, but after, so that's Venice, we focus another city like a Rome. So when we go to Rome, so comparison between Venice and Rome, so Roman square becomes much large scale. So it is very obvious because when we start to hand drawing, so we cannot put the same scale in the same size of the paper. So that's why the drawings becomes a bit different things. And also the detail of the facade and the detail of the things becomes a bit changed. So, and that's also the interesting measure for understanding the public space in each city. And so that's why, so like in this case, for example, we try to understand the Roma also has a lot of hills, so that's why so many some square becomes steps. So well, this kind of geographical condition and scale, so a lot of the difference coming into the drawings. And another city we tested the Zurich. So Zurich is more kind of history, but Veduta comes early, so 19th century and late 19th century and 20th century. So the most of the building or public space becomes a symbol of the modernization of the city. For example, the station plaza, or like a new water turbine station, or like a new reclaimed park, so on, so on. So that's why so we could find so how the history so Veduta were related to the moment of the very important development of the city. Yes. For example, this you could see so the different of the Zurich scape. So, but most of the case always represent from the Alps, for example. And we always try to make a kind of exhibition. So after the workshops, because hand drawing is also very interesting to, or also to attract to the audience who are interested in the city, because hand drawing is a very strong point into the people to understand. So that's why so like we are very, very so happy to show and to discuss through the students' drawing into more like an expert and historian and so on. So the students could point a very interesting point from their observation. And after the COVID-19 is coming so into our world, and then from February and to March, so Japan and also Switzerland becomes a lockdown situation, and everything becomes remote, and I also have to be stay at home. The first part I was in Switzerland, but also after, so I need to move Japan, but Switzerland had also I tried to understand what's happened after the ethnography. And for example, we cannot start to shake a hand. So that's why we try to understand a different way of greeting, or suddenly the lecture would be like today's remote. So, but we try to firstly try out like a stream, so how it works, because we published the ARQUITECTURA, the March the 10th. It was the almost same day of the starting to the lockdown in Zurich. So that's why. So yeah, we very, very looking forward to the publishing of this number, but unfortunately, so we could not meet direct in the event. So that's why so we decide to switch suddenly, so one day before, to go into the old stream. So it's very, very so hard, but we finished. And you can check also the ARQUITECTURA Facebook, so in this content. And also I started to make some drawings for how I did. So because also memory, And also like when I come back to Japan, so also that I started to make a bread. I don't know why, but also the making bread or more cooking, or also that I started to work more hard, garden, and also like a walk every day. So this is also very, very important kind of routine, so nice routines for life. But same time, so we could discover how the public space or green space in Tokyo were located. So because Tokyo has many temple and shrines with the greens, and then so they provide us a very nice kind of target to walk one day. So, and it's very simple. We just went to the shrine and pray and go back. So Japanese shrines or pray, it's very simple, just a pump, so like some make a clap hands and the bow, so and go back. So very simple. But yeah, I enjoy a lot so to walk to this shrine forest. So it's very beautiful and very, very yeah, nice atmosphere. So in this kind of condition. And after so parallel, so we started recording so the architectural aspect into the drawing. For example, how students live in their house. So by students drawing. And this is one case also the students kind of share apartment. And normally, so they are just go to the school and just evening they go back home. So this is before COVID-19, so their lifestyle. But during the COVID-19, so everybody have to be at home, and they make a Skype meeting or a Zoom meeting or Zoom lecture and so on. So that this sounds issue is also the very important topic, and also cooking and also like cleaning and so on. So or gardening. So a lot of issue comes out into the house a lot. And also some students that try to go out from the city area to have to get more space for their staying. So there's the students going back to their hometown or to move to some secondary house to have a nice view and more safe and nature, so on. So very different remote from the city. And also that I asked the Japanese students how to live. So it's also very different from each culture, especially so Japan. In our country, so most of the case we take off the shoes in home. So that's why so the floor is becomes the most sitting place, and also floor could be also furnished part of the living. So that's why so like many students make some interesting position for Zooming, Zoom meeting. And some students doing the normally so working on the floor and sitting on the floor, but when he needs to some background of his room, so he set up on the desk of the bed. That is a bit maybe for European eyes, so maybe it's a bit strange, but well, I really so enjoy so his different situation to his creativity on. And also like some students try to making different room space. For example, one space more relaxing, one space more studying, one space another more sitting, or tea time, so on, so on. Or some students started to also recognize more sound issue from outside. So because Japanese, most of the house becomes more, thin wall and by the timber structure. So that's why so like sounds is also very important environment around their house. Sorry, so yes, I need to move. So because light is automatic, so it becomes a bit okay. And After, so we continued this workshop, so about COVID-19, and we called another 20 students to support this research. And in this case, we asked one student, per one student, to make one large drawing by hand. So, but not only building interior, so more focusing on the entire city or some part of the city. So because I think this is also very important. The room itself with a figure by the typology of the building, the typology location of the building is also related to the development of the city. So that means we have to leave certain condition, but same times we were lived by this architectural structure or urban structure. So that's why, so like this is also very important moment. So how we were or how we live by affecting so the environment. And this drawing must be drawn by this understanding the relationship between the life and architecture. And for example, one student live in this area, but same time he needs to visit some friend's house to share the work together in the studio. So, and he always like walk distance to go to another, and then he tried to make some interesting spot in the walking way. So that's why, so like drawings has a different scale. So the interior scale, but same time the urban scale and another interior scale. And also some another students that are working for how their apartment surrounded the public space. And the one space at the courtyard, one space neighbors, the building and the window. The one space is more like a balcony, street side. So, and their apartment were also related to the circumstance of the outdoor. But same times they try to organize how the outside could be reflect their life. So inside. So that's why. So these drawings also showing the relationship between outside and inside. But same times also some courtyards becomes like some theatrical event, because these courtyards were facing to the elderly homes, and elderly homes cannot receive the volunteer musician in the activities. So because of the danger of the COVID. So that's why, so the music player were playing in front of their house, and then so all the elderly people will have a kind of see and listen their music from their own spaces. So that means the courtyards becomes one theater for them, and also of course this space were looked by the habitants. And also some students back to the hometown. So normally, so rural village in Switzerland, less the young people. But during that period, many young people, or like our students, back to home. So that's why, so the village becomes very active, and also they supported their elderly. So for example, daily shopping and so on. So that's why, so that she tried to make a drawing to explain this, how the street and the relationship becomes very active, and also some public space were utilized different use, so on, so on. And also we did another 2 drawing as a public space. The one drawing is focusing on the hospital. So because in Switzerland case, the traditional hospital were located to the cloister, or yes, and in church, so belong to, so as really, so European, so historical, so type of the hospital. And on the case also the like graveyard the next to it, and also this church and hospital were located at the edge of the original city wall. So, but of course the city were expanding to time by time. So and today, so it becomes university and ETH building, and also like hospital of a university, so it's belong to. So that's why, so that this drawing is a kind of a slope of the one side of the Zurich, but this axis is showing the different period of house for disease. So this is a very 13th century, and this is 2020. So. And but the 2020 case, so we tried to also show the test place for COVID-19. So the some place where becomes the center of this COVID, and also the some intensive care unit were coming into the more active in the university hospital. So and also some busy access for the ambulance, so for the back entrance and so on. So that's why, so like we try to illustrate the history of the kind of new report of the situation of the emergency, but same time, so they have a very nice garden around, and the garden becomes also the very important public space for the area, not only for patients, not only for the hospital staff. And also the in front of the hospital, there is a important main water supply in the city. And also the hospital, so garden part were important reservoir for the collecting the clean water to the hospital or to the city. So that's why, so the all the hospital has also water well to collect the water. So that's why, so also the water issue and the hospital is also very important part of the public and common sense. So this is some detail more closely, and the main building. So many classrooms were empty. Only so teacher were teaching by virtual video. And also test part of, and also emergency ambulance and helicopter. And another drawing, so we did the cemetery. So because originally, so this Seafeld cemetery were outskirts of the urban area. So, but nowadays already it becomes very urbanized part. So that's why, so the drawing that try to show how the outer part becomes more dense. So, and also during the COVID lockdown, so the place of the cemetery becomes a very public space for walk and also enjoy and relax, because the other public school or park were closed by the city, so to not to collect the people. So gathering the people. So that's why, so like only the part, this kind of cemetery becomes very important, the public space for the people to gather. And also the some empty slot, or nowadays it's already alley or for the park, but it was used to use as a graveyard. And also some modern, the park becomes more empty, so because of the not to use. And another side of the cemetery so becomes more popular for walk. And then now that we are continue to some seminar for study how the life and the city, and also how the urban rural life and how art and technology in a COVID situation so works as a ethnographical point of view. And this is also the recent Bow-Wow work. So we have a chance to design during this half year. So one topic is like one singular house. It's located to the one city, but not in Tokyo. So it's another prefecture and very some rural so part or suburban area. So, but this young couple and family so have a their own site next to their parents' site. They bought a land, and this land were very kind of they try to keep the garden, and also that we propose them to make some green top for their gardening. And also another project is also we recently designed the theater activities, the theater set. So, but the theater it's happened in originally, so their theater is open air theater, and but same time, so this theater will be shown in October in Tokyo Center. So, and that will be also the open air theater. And well, of course, nowadays the theater, how many people can see and gather so in the room. So that is also very important discussion for safe. But same time, it's also we are very also happy to how that open air theater could be more interesting as a performance place, and how we could enlarge the possibility of the design in this sense. So that's why during the half year, so we test 2 projects, but then both of the projects were very encourage our design method, and also our idea of the thinking to go further to how the life and how the space could be like in the future. And maybe I think I have about 3 minutes. Maybe I show one project as architecture ethnography, so point of view. So this was also how do we bring the architecture ethnography so into the one project, architecture project, or one founding the recovery of the fisherman village. So that's the project. It's called the Momoyo Village. That it happened from the 2011. So the photograph shows how the fisherman village was destroyed by tsunami, and the photograph shows the 2011 summer. So when it is firstly, so we visited to the local people to start to interview their request for the recovery. And this interview was done by so many architects together and the university students together. And I did three different fisherman villages to start to make an interview. And simple agenda is, or strong agenda of this workshop is finding the new residence area instead of the lower part of the fisherman's beach. So because the beach side becomes the prohibited area to make a house after. So that's why. So if they want to have another house, so they need to step up on the hillside. And the hillside were totally covered by forest. So because of the forest, we started to think about utilize this forest resources into the recovery process. But unfortunately, the forests were already abandoned for the last 30 years. And also the like maintenance of the forest are not so good, well done. So that's why. So we proposed them, but unfortunately, so it's realizing the very difficult we found in the process. And the project, it's called the core house. So we propose them to make a center, some small shed at first, and then, but they could add by their income. So after the recovery of the fishery. And also we made some model house for the area to community, to their communication, so place or like a gathering space. It's a small but well used. But same time, as I said, so like recovery process is very difficult because of the lack of the labor and the lack of the materials couldn't reach our wish and our goal. So many housemaker outside from the area, they came to make a house and get the order from the fisherman to realize the right side is realizing the residence area. It's quite new and quite clean. So, but it is not represented what they had before. So. And we were very shocked somehow. So, but same time, so I couldn't stop to work with them. So, and after that, we hear so many interview and many requests. I tried to them to keep on the one drawings. So that this is, we call the future images of the beach in the fisherman village. And we put several points, so some yacht harbor and the restaurant and so on. But same time, so we put the fisherman school. So, but this fisherman school were also recognized again 2 years later, the chair of this community, Mr. Koya. He is at the time so 82 years old, and now already 92. And he is very old, but he's very strong and very good chairman. And he really so the motivated to realize the fisherman school as a program. And we started to discuss with the many fishermen who work in the area and how we create a program for all. And for example, how to make a rope work or how to do the traditional fishery and how the area it was by walk, also how to cook the fish. And also we try to make the textbook for the learning fishery. So of course it is a very simple so fishery textbook. So, but is a kind of entry. So because normally most of the fisherman business were just followed by the son from the parents. So that's why so like normally so there is no entry for the newcomer from outside. So but unfortunately so the new generation, the next generation are not so well followed. So that's why so like they need to find some new follower or new generation to follow their work after. And but same time, so we started to think about how to invite many other professions, so not only for fishermen, so maybe some entrepreneur people who wanted to create a new business in the area. And also we also organized some food development and new recipe making. And also we started to discuss how the newcomer can live in this area because most of the area were prohibited to live after. So that's why so they need to find the land for themselves. But unfortunately, most of the area were very, very covered by mountain and forest. So it is very difficult to make some space by themselves. And then so this is a kind of workshop to get the hearing from the local and also some outsider newcomer who want to do something. And in this case, we don't use sketches. More we use a model. So model could be received many input from their option. So because land geographical so topography itself has already some settings so for the living and habitable so condition according of the form of the geography. So that's why so some flat land could be a lived or some sloping part it will be a bit making the footpath and so on. So that we could read a lot of the program on the geographical condition. And then this program becomes also another fisherman's school. So it's called the fisherman's school, so focusing on the mountain. And in this mountain case, we try to start to thinning the tree forest on the mountain because, as I said, the most of the forests were a bit unhealthy condition, too much dense and unlighted. So that's also like they must be a thin and then to becomes more healthy. So and then this thinning material becomes the sliced timber and also the material for the furniture in this workshop. And also same time we started to think about the accommodation. So for the area, tent site and some cottages for sleeping. And we started to make a proposal slowly by hand. And also the finally, so we started to make a design because the the drawing is also very good communication tools for finding the founder who could pay for this project. And also we asked for young architects who could collaborate with us and to make some cottages together. So, and we started to open the forest and the same time, so the whole process becomes also school and also learning process. And thinning tree becomes also one part for the material for wood paved, and also some another good part becomes the column and beams for the cottages. And we did also the organized summer school in 2017. And in a summer school, so we finished the main structure of the two cottages by local carpenter and the volunteer teams. And this is a result of what we did. So the main building is designed by Bow-Wow. So, but the two cottages were designed by two architects group. So we try to keep as much as possible to original land form. So because original land were used as a vegetable garden for fishermen. So it was set and all the stone masonry terrace was set by their father or grandfather. So that's why the like all the steps were the fitting to the location of the size of the cottages and also the main building. And all the cottages can get the view to the harbor because of the terrace. And this is one video which was made by the Chinese students who study at the moment in my Japanese laboratory. And but this I think a video shows a very good very good so for landscape and how the mountain were connected to the harbor. And after, so we continue to still repair and also recovery of the area. This time, so we ask one professor who learned who also ran the stonemasonry school in other part of Japan, and she really so helping to us to remain or retain the wall, so stone walls by hand together. So it is also very interesting program. So like with so puzzles or kind of so work. And also we recovered the festival. So it was stopped 15 years ago. And because of the another fishery becomes very strong, and also the fishery brings all manpower to outside from the harbor because the day many fishermen went to the long distance boat to fishery. So that's why so the village are a bit empty by many hands. So during the period, this festival was gone. So but we called around 80 years old the fishermen to start again to make this festival. And at first they didn't remember, but slowly they start to remember how to make it, and they are very exciting. So it's a kind of they becomes almost young, so feeling maybe so flashback their memory into it, the making boat, and finally so they finishing, and they are very happy to do back the festival again to the area. And yes, I think this case, for example, the landscape itself is also related to the old context, and also the some material becomes to the traditional house, and also the Japan has a lot of the agriculture farm organize the landscape together. So that's why so agriculture industry and also the building itself is very, very so connected in the historical or traditional condition. But of course today is the modern period, and today so the new material coming and the industrial material coming into this continuous landscape. So of course we could find another solution, and we might need to allow to use a hybrid situation. So but still so this kind of understanding, so how the landscape and building is a more harmonical so meaning, that's also very helping us to understand the power of the architecture as an ethnography. And I think we will go to maybe the last slide. Okay. Yes, this is a kind of summarize of my lecture. So architecture ethnography, in my understanding, so like maybe so the 20th century model, so industrialization and new technology and skills, so it's coming to make a some wall between our life and resources. And 20th century, so we started to have some struggling so between this wall. So, but I think 21st century, so if we could find, so where is a wall and where is a border between us and also resources, maybe we could bring back some better the accessibility through this understanding by architecture ethnography. And also that this is another image, but I thought how the Earth or globe so becomes changing. So 19th century and 20th century and 21st century. So because I think connectivity from the land use and mineral in the globe. So how related to the in the surface, and then but same times, so of course 20th century. So we went to the space and the new technology and a lot of interconnections happen. So that makes it also the different sphere, so to more another axis. And then but the 21st century, so how we could combine so more efficient or good way or a rich life or nice life, so to become better condition. So that is also we could say architecture ethnography would be one of the methods of the discover this sphere. So that is the last slide. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Momoyo, for this presentation. Very great presentation. Thank you for sharing students' works and your last research. I think it's between Japan and Chile, we have a very similar condition, disaster, earthquake. We have very similar histories in the last time. And we have prepared a simple question. And the first question, it's about the history of architectural ethnographic. You usually mention a reflect upon professional from the Oriental world, like Konwajiro or and Uso Nishiyama. What about people like Bruno Taut, Ernest May, Konrad Washman, Aldo Fanik, and Hermann Hahn? Do you consider them pioneers of the field as well? And if so, are there any substantial difference between the Oriental and Occidental traditions?
Okay, okay, thank you. Yes, yes, maybe many architects like early modern age, like Bruno Tauto. Also, I like also the aspirant, for example,
Yeah.
Gunnar aspirant. So, for example, at that time, so I was also once I saw his drawing about the cemetery and also crematoriums in CCA, and it shows a very interesting research drawing. So because he tried to understand how the ceremony of the crematoriums happen, so around after the death, so ceremony. So because I think at that moment, so before the cemetery were just, I think dead body just going to graveyard directly. So but they started to you know, they use the crematoriums as the restriction, or I don't know, new rules for the take care of the yes, maybe so for disease or like a problem of the health, so on. So that's why, so like but he tried to integrate like classical movement, how to integrate the modern design, and also like in his drawing, also the dead body is coming to down to the crematorial part, and also how ash to collect and so on. So this all movement is in the drawing, so several times. So I think of course many architects maybe had so struggling to how to introduce new life and in the existing behavior, and also this design process might be very helpful to understand how the people movement is coming into the plan and coming to the section and so on. So, and I think many of the architects at the period, so they try to make also the record, because they don't have any internet or like Instagram, so they have to make a field note. So, and of course, Wajiro-kon is a very important the ethnographer, or more like a reporter as an architect, and yeah, after the big disaster, he have to do something. So as a scholar or as an architect, so that is a really strong motivation, because he met the birth of the house after the a big earthquake. So that's why so he started to collect all the sketch through the sketches. That's why so it becomes the modernologies happen. So that's why so like I think maybe so first period of the ethnography is also the kind of shocking, so the transformation or changing by some outer or inside to our life, and then they have to draw something. So how to correct, how to grasp through the drawing. So I think maybe of course Orientalism is at that time. So Japan has becomes also the Europeanized. For example, Japanese before we wear kimono, and we have to transform to the European kimono as like today, and also they cut the hair or many things happen. So but how they try to manage, so that is all coming for this kind of architecture ethnography. So yes.
You have worked in many different places. I mean, in the States, in Italy, Japan, of course. Do you think architectural ethnography offers a universal method, a way to approach space that is suitable to be used anywhere, or it should be adjusted from place to place, from context to context? Will you do things differently, for example, in Latin America, or not?
Yes, maybe. It's not so easy to say each country is different. Maybe so each village or each locality has a bit different customs. So that's why so like if I cannot say easily. So, but you know I think at the moment really so there is no way of record. For example, photography is also very weak at the time, so and very expensive. Nobody can get a photograph, and also like I think maybe so drawing. Why it's I think only the way of recording. I think so. That's why so that they share the method and that they try to understand. And also Wajiro-kon had also influence by European same scholar. So at the moment they had a more exchange between. So recently, so the can I show you some?
Yeah.
¿Nos va a regalar unos libros, profesor?
Ojalá que vuelva. Ahí vuelve.
So recently, so we published this is ARQUITECTURA, Architecture Ethnography, and then so in this book, so the one scholar Izumi Kuroishi, so she's I think a very focusing on the Wajiro-kon very much, and she's a scholar of the Wajiro-kon, and she mentioned how the relation between the Europe and the Japan, his work happens. So. Yes. So I think they had also exchange like today, not like emails, but maybe they also went to the overseas and also they understand what they did. And I think, yes, they had a connection. Yes.
Francisca Marquez is an anthropologist. She just gave a lecture in this seminar. And she asked that she said that she doesn't really understand why living environment to ethnography and space and place as the topics of architecture. Because she says, she argues that ethnography has always been in all those fields. So why to reduce ethnography to environment or maybe just to behavior and not include the other dimensions of social life as part of that methodology?
Yes. I think of course, and maybe ethnography or anthropologist, of course, each scholar has a different definition, so maybe so. But I would say like from architecture science, so like or architect science, so how we could use architecture as a method to discover more clearly some certain the fields for study. So and also how our discipline so could be enlarged to the possibility to understand the things. And then so that's why so I started to use this word architecture ethnography. So we had also some discussion, so former and other seminars. So ethnographical architecture or architecture ethnography or terminology is also with maybe question, and also the ethnography itself is more center of the people. But I think also if artifacts, architecture could be part of the artifacts, and also a spatial understanding. It's also very important result, or kind of also. I think it's also somehow good tools for recording by drawing. So you know, also, and also in this books also we are also discussing about archaeology. So for example, archaeology case also they utilize a method of the recording of the historical space. Now of course they analysis of the behavior or eating and so on. So but one section of the archaeology, of course, the entire city, how it looks like, or how the house looks like. So this kind of recording or understanding through the drawing. So it's also very helping to make a platform for communication to understand. So that's why it's a bit reverse. So how we could understand our life through the architecture plan or architecture section, but same time, so this platform could be used another idea, yes, or another discipline.
Yeah, I always wonder. I read, of course, your books, and I have followed your work, and I think it's an enormous contribution to the field of architecture. At the same time, I'm an anthropologist as well, and I think that ethnography made a very big epistemological turn during the 60s to replace this kind of vertical relation with the subjects to a more collaborative and horizontal work. And how does, of course, anthropological ethnography takes that tradition, but anyway, I think it tends to concentrate more on the quantitative, on the calculation, on the measure of the conducts, on the behaviors, on the objects, rather than in the meaning, in the qualitative approach to space and the use of space. I don't know if that is correct, if you will say the same, or maybe you disagree with that statement.
そうね、quantitative, qualitative, so it's yeah, good. And also maybe in Japan also there is some discussion about the sociology, also the issue. So also the sociological aspect also they have sometimes they also go into the more data and number, so quantitative case, but also some sociologists go into more deep the personal things. So maybe this is also matter of the method. So, but for example, I'm also interested about the both case, a typological aspect. For example, architecture is always repeat somehow. So you know the toilet, for example, we go to toilet, but we could understand if some strange form, but maybe this is toilet kind of, or even it looks like a bed. So maybe it could be sleep. So even if very different. So
toilets, yeah.
Yeah, so this kind of repeating, or this is a kind of common sense, and also this common sense and this common understanding or shareable part is also brings to some not just specific things. It becomes more common space and common understanding, and it also creates the life, and the life were created by the repeating. So in like a breathing. So and also the breathing have to be continuous. So and then one to another. And if I sleep same way, maybe some next person will be sleep a bit different, but almost okay, or something like so. This kind of relay from history to today. So so that's why. So of course the data part, or typological part is also very important, but same time, of course, the creativity, so from the body or creativity of the some certain moment, and also sharing. So that's also very my interest, because of the architecture could be also one singular word or language, but also at the same time, the architecture could be used by several people, not only for one person. So that's why this kind of sharing the language as a communication, as a tools of the architecture, it's very, very so important for study to how we could fix or how we could understand as a culture. So.
Yeah, of course.
Momoyo, I saw in some catalog of diagram about relation in Lefebvre and behaviorology. With Tsukamoto, you prepare a book about rhythm analysis. Where do you think about Lefebvre's theories about the space when proposes the behaviorology?
So, yes, thank you. So, yeah, like we also get the words of the practice of the space. So that was also very, we try to test to understand in things. So because like, you know, and also like the rhythms also it's also comes to the same as a behavior, you know, like a repeat or like a constantly. So, and also the time length, you know, also the seasonal thing they use, and more like a long term, so like a tsunami, so every 30 years coming the tsunami. So this is also interesting, like a repetition or rhythms. So that this kind of, so if we think the architecture or space or our life is more kind of animate or like moving or behaving. So how we could read not freezed situation is more like as a condition of the moving. So that is maybe so interest. And also the practice and the architecture or practice and the space is also the like a reflect we always try to read. So because the maybe yeah, when as a bit same as the toilet or bed issue. So like you know, the how do people so sleeping, or how do people live, or how do people make a business, or how do people like agriculture. So the each case of the space use reflect of the certain so practice. So that's why we always try to understand if we, for example, many cases we recently visit to the like a fisherman village. Of course, they do fishing, so but traditional way. But today's a lot of the modern mechanical way. So and if mechanical comes, the harbor becomes more concrete, and also like a boat will be a big, large. So compare from the old boat. Old boat are just made by timber. So, but now the FRP and also large is a machine, and new some machine comes, so that it becomes more industrial. So and then this industrialization needs a more large market, and also this large market needs more customer and distribution, and also the like a publication and so on. So all matter happens. So but if just one person fishing, so 10 fish and to eat, so on site it's very different. So that's why so like how we try to bring some good scale and good position, so length and also size and industry and the life, so balance. So that is maybe so we are very interesting to think about.
I have like maybe it's a loaded question or a tricky question or a weird question, but given the range of cases you show us and how they gain value by the work you do, I was wondering, is architectural ethnography is an option, or do you think it's a branch, or do you think that all architecture should be ethnographic?
Yeah, I think all architecture could be ethnography. So because if, of course, we avoid the industry, but the industry, every industry has also part of done by people. So that's why. So of course, always we have people behind, or even if architecture or in the space. So that is always. But maybe I don't know if. Well, why I bring to many students or me also, so like went to rural area or some small scale. So also it's also very interesting to understand more clearly, it's a direct to how the practice space or how the richness of the rhythms or it's more clear compared from the urban context, because Tokyo is a very large city and very, very contaminated everything. So it's very, very, of course it's interesting, but somehow so very artificial. So, but nature is always changing the season and very more, you know, the some fundamentals of basic the time. So that kind of things helps us a lot to understand to what it was and how today's become changed in different scales. So that's why, so like maybe we could not just going back to the history. So, but maybe so it's also the kind of process for understanding today's conditions. So how it's already over market or overcoming. So if we need to reduce the good size, so that this historical perspective is very, very important for look back or look fit to the moderate exact fitting the scale and so on.
Do you always work with, or usually work with students of architecture, or have you worked with, for example, the students of anthropology or sociology or political science, or I don't know?
Yeah, well, I think maybe it's a students I have a lot. So from maybe a architecture student, but for example, same times I teach in Japanese school. I teach more art faculty. So that's why, so like some young artist or young graphic designer or young painter or photographer. So I work with them so a lot for this kind of project. And also a bit senior, like assistant level or young scholar. So we work also a lot. So, and also like this fisherman's village. So we work also the fishing consultant or fisherman union or like some other locals or experts. So. And also, I really love to interdisciplinary or like collaboration with other fields. For example, biologist or geographer, so on. So that's why, so like not direct, okay, no ethnographer, but maybe I think yeah, it depends on topic. So I'm personally, so also I'm very happy to, I'm not an ethnographer maybe, but I'm also really like to understand the ethnographical so aspect of the architecture, because how the life and the architecture are related. So that is my interest. So that's why, so like maybe I need more bit, you know, some other expert inputs, but maybe next time, so I will try to working with the ethnographer.
Oh, you're welcome. Chile.
Yeah. Yes.
One last question, if I may. Just one last. Given that the thing you just said, how do you think the teaching of architecture should be? Which should be like the key capacities like schools should nurture in their students? What kind of students do we want to produce in that way?
Well, recently, of course, in the work, sometimes I need to work by computer, of course. So, and the computer help us a lot also. But same time, also computer makes us trouble or limit, for example. The recently, so why I started to ask the student to make a hand drawing. This is also very interesting. So because computer should have always some exact number, for example, 1 millimeter or 1.3 millimeter, something like that. They need to put the number, so exact. And then when I start to ask them to make a hand drawing, so first question, so how, for example, they ask me how to modify of the different scales. So, but the hand drawing is very easy. So if I write one paper, one side, so 1 to 50, but another side, I easily to make a 1 to 100. And we could just by hand, so easily to, just deformize or just shift into one to another in one paper by hand. So, but the computer, they need 2 layers. One layer should be 1 to 50, and another layer should be 1 to 100. So in that case, they can overlapping, but they can connect easily. So in the different scales. So, but our thinking is more flexible, basically. So that's why, some students had some struggle if I ask to them, okay, yeah, no problem. So hand drawing is very easy to change from one to another scale. So because I used to use, and also my thinking is also very easily, always zoom back and zoom up. So it's this kind of flexible thinking is also architects needs to have. So because this jump up, jump zoom in, so it's also very helping to the abstraction and also understanding of the different scales in one. So that helps us a lot. So, but maybe computer drawing is the case more bit layering. It's disturbing to this kind of jump up easily to smoothly. So that's why I ask them to train. So yeah, you don't worry about the change the scale. So just jump. just combine. So but if they understood what the meaning of the drawing, so not it should be exact, so the more communication, so that helps them a lot, so to think about the other design fields.
Momoyo, for the final invitation with Ricardo and Bifurcaciones Editorial, we have preparing a book, Drawing the City, for the next year. We would like you be a part of this work with some of your best drawings.
This drawing is difficult, but yes, one of the things I could, collaborate. Yes.
Yeah.
Best is difficult. Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
thank you.
Great.
Invitation.
It was very enlightening.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much. So bye bye. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye, and thank you all for coming here.
Thank you. Bye bye. See you,
Bye.
Santiago. Japan.
Cerramos.
Sí, pues nos quedamos los dos. Bueno, gracias a todos los que han seguido en el canal de YouTube de la escuela este seminario. Ha sido una larga jornada, pero bueno, esperamos que haya sido fructífera. Sé que nos están siguiendo de diferentes lados de Latinoamérica, de Europa, ¿cierto? Tenemos varios amigos ahí conectados, así que nada, agradecerles y esperar a una segunda patita de este seminario. Gracias aquí al profesor y a todos los participantes invitados al evento.
Estamos haciendo muy buenas cosas en la Escuela de Arquitectura de la UDLA y en la facultad y en el Centro de Producción del Espacio, así que sigan las novedades también.
Eso. Nos vemos. Adiós. Gracias.
Bueno.